Welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life with Veena World. I'm Neil Patil, and as always, I'm joined by Sunila. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And today we are going to go into one of the best continents, one of the prettiest continents, one of the most historical continents, and you can just have different words to just describe this continent. And I'm talking about Europe. Well, Europe is a paradise in many ways. If you're a history lover, you can certainly go there. If you like food and culture, wow, you have a variety of cuisines that you can explore over there. If you like adventure, there are so many countries that offer so much adventure. You want to go in the winter, you can certainly do that. You want to go in the summer, you can certainly do that. If you like the mountains, Europe offers you something. If you like the beaches, Europe offers you something. If you like driving around, Europe offers you something. And if you like sitting in a hot spa amidst the mountains, Europe offers you that also. So Europe is everything, right, Sunila? But when you're talking about a beginner's guide to Europe, we are not talking about a guide in such a way that only for first timers to Europe. We are going to focus this episode on some questions that people often have when it comes to Europe. So, Sunila, without wasting any time, without
Mhm.
doing anything, one of the biggest questions people ask is visa. And when it comes to Europe, visa is a big thing. But one of the advantages that Europe gives you is
Mm.
that you don't need multiple visas for multiple countries. So, what is the Schengen? So let's start with that. You think?
Yes, Neil. Speaking of Europe is always exciting because there's just so much to do there, and you cannot see everything in one go. I don't think you can ever see everything actually. So you really have to pick and choose what's important for you. And one of the key things there is the visa, because once you have the visa in hand, you can of course do a lot of things. You can go across many states, many countries. Uh, Without the visa, really there's not much that you can travel to. So yes, the Schengen visa is that one visa which gives you access to more than 25, so around 26 countries are included in the Schengen visa. Not all European countries though are included in the Schengen visa. So that's, I'm glad you started with the visa, because without the visa we can't do anything. But when you're planning for the visa, plan accordingly. Like, to give you an example, very often one of the most popular routes is Croatia and Slovenia, or Croatia, Slovenia, Austria, Montenegro, all of that put together. Now, though Slovenia and Austria and Croatia are part of the European Union, Croatia is not part of the Schengen state. So it is a non-EU, like it's not a part of the Schengen. So you need a separate visa, or you need to decide where to enter from, because the rule for a visa and how to get a visa, of course, if you're applying for a visa, that whichever like a Veena travel team is there to guide you on to how to get the visa. But the general rule whenever you're traveling in Europe is that, where do I apply? If there are 26 countries, how do I apply, and where do I apply, which
That's
country
like the
do I
biggest
apply?
question, right?
Yeah. So the simple answer is, it depends on where is your maximum stay, or where are you starting the tour. Now, if you're starting the tour in one country, but you're there only for one night and you're going to stay in the next country for a longer period of time, the that country may say, look, you need to go and apply to the other where you're staying for a maximum time. So where are you starting your tour from, and how many days are you spending in that country? The country that you're spending the maximum stay in is the place to approach for a visa. And if you're doing only Croatia, then please go ahead and apply only to Croatia, for example. If you're doing only Switzerland, go ahead and apply to the Swiss consulate. But once you have, if you're doing Switzerland and France, then you can apply either to Switzerland or to France. It all depends on your itinerary. So before applying to the visa, the first step really is to plan your itinerary, book your air tickets, because without a ticket itinerary, you cannot apply for a visa, and also your hotels. You must know where you're staying. So once you've decided you want to go on a tour, get down, plan your programs, book your air tickets, book your hotels, and then apply. But yes, given the current situation, because the world has opened up, but everybody's got the great idea of traveling. So the consulates are really busy, the embassies are quite busy, and you must keep enough time for you to procure the visa. So plan and book as early as you can.
I think you mentioned a very valid point, and I think I'd like to start over there where plan your trip, right? We
Mhm.
recently launched Europe 2023, and we have more
Yes.
than 40 tour options just to Europe alone,
Yes.
catering to different kinds of travelers. So I often get this question that, Neil, should I do multiple countries in one go,
Mhm.
or should I stick to one country? And I often answer that question with an it depends, right? Because it depends what type of traveler you are. At Veena World, we have one country tours, two country tours. We have tours that do multiple countries as part of one tour, and that's catering to different audiences. So How would you go about dissecting this question, and how would you answer this question for our listeners and viewers?
Neil, I think you really hit it on the nail by saying it depends. So, from one country to say, like right now, what we've launched, we have about 13 countries also in our tour. Um, is it going to be? I think you need to really ask yourself, is this going to be my only visit to Europe? Or is it your parents' only visit to Europe? Have you been saving all your life? You have your, investments and everything, and you really save for this holiday, and you're not sure if maybe you will be able to come back. Maybe you want to do different continents. You want to do America, you want to do Australia, South Africa, you want to discover the rest of the world too, and you want to see the best of the best of the best of Europe in one go. Then I would say definitely opt for a multi-country tour. Do keep sufficient time in hand for that, because it's impossible to jump from one country to the other very quickly, except there are few countries that you probably pass through in Europe without even realizing that you actually entered a different country and come out. And that very often happens in Europe, because they check your passports, the immigration is at the first point and the last point, and once you're in, you're seamlessly traveling in Europe everywhere. So that's a lot of fun to really cross the borders. You will see the checkposts, but you don't really have to go through checking. So depending on, if it is that one tour, that one dream vacation, then opt for the maximum countries that you can go to. Look for the best time to travel. Keep sufficient time in hand, minimum of, like, I don't know, 15-20 days at least. In fact, I remember we even had a 31 days tour, and maybe
And
going
that was
ahead
quite
we will.
popular because
Very popular,
everyone
because
used
you
to
really
like
see
traveling for
everything.
that long. And
Yeah,
our Veena World tour manager being with you all throughout,
yeah,
from not only Mumbai to Mumbai, but whichever hubs we have, that was an added advantage. So people used to love that tour because you'd see everything in Europe
yeah.
in that, right?
Yes. So even now in the tours that we've launched, the longest tour is a 23-day tour, and that covers 13 countries. So, you need time. Though the countries are close by, you need to, next you need to decide, really, do you want to see all the cities in the country, which is not going to be possible? Choose and select what suits you, what you like, what are the experiences that you want, and then choose that tour. If you're the type of a person who doesn't want to rush it and really wants to take things very easy, and take your time to really savor a country, then opt for something like a 2 to 3 country tours. They are typically a week or 10 days, or you can even plan your own, but at least that gives you enough time to get a flavor of the country, see a little more other than the main city, maybe see at least two cities in one country and go ahead. So I would say then, like, for example, an Austria, Switzerland, and France, like Austria, Swiss, Paris, that kind of combines the best of it. So you get to see a city as well, you get to be in the mountains for snow, and you also get to see the lakes and everything. So natural beauty, history, you can check off all of that in like a nice 3-day tour, 3 country tour. And especially, if you have children traveling, then you can, that gives you time to go explore Euro Disney, that gives you time to see other things, add in more attractions, theme parks, and all of that. And then if you're the type of person who feels that, look, I don't want to be rushed at all, I want to really experience one country at its best and then move on to the other country, then I would say choose and go only for a single country. Like, just go to one country at a time. You could even do a good 7 days in one country. For example, in Switzerland, or say we have the French Riviera too, which I really love because it takes the best of the best of the best of France. So Aix-en-Provence, Cannes, all of that is included in that tour. Monte Carlo, close by. Like I said, I give you an example. You may cross a country without knowing. Again, Monte Carlo is a different country, very close to France, but it's no difference. They speak the same language. You're going in and out very seamlessly. Or Austria only for 7 days. So you can do all of these single country tours as well. It really depends on how much time do you have, what do you want to see, and who you're traveling with. Are you traveling with your children? What are the experiences in that certain place? Like, if really going to mountains and snow is your priority, then a 7 day Switzerland tour is just perfect for you. But if you want to do more of the cities, more of experiencing the monuments around, visiting, taking off the iconic monuments of Europe, then definitely a multi-country tour.
So, I'll start with the mountains. And one question we often get asked, and I often like going to Mount Atlas, because the moment you get to Mount Atlas, you see all of the Veena World tour buses lined up, and we have all
Yes.
of our Veena World tour managers there.
Yeah.
Not only one tour group, but multiple. Sometimes
Hmm.
there'll be 10 or 15 tour groups going on. So often people ask that, hey, as part of your tour, you have Mount Atlas and you have Jungfrau Joch, which is known as the
Hmm.
top of Europe. But
Yes.
they are two mountains. And the misconception often is that, hey, why are we going to two mountains? Because we are going to go play in the snow two times. So
Hmm.
why have we included two of these mountains, and how do they differ as compared to just choosing one of the two?
So, Neil, they are quite different. First of all, they are in two different areas of Switzerland. So, I don't think you can ever have enough of the snow. And coming from the cities that we live in, and especially in India, where the weather is only mostly warm. I mean, even our winters are quite warm in that sense. Whereas in Europe, the summers are also quite cool. But we can never have enough of snow, and we've seen that. I mean, look at the number of people who've traveled to Kashmir in the last 2 years, right? So you can never have enough snow, and the more you see, the more you enjoy. But it's quite different because Jungfrau York is really at the top of Europe. It's more than 11,333 feet, and they have a big observatory at the top. The attractions are also different. So on Mount Atlas, when you take the big rotating cable car and then you go up there, the approach to go up on the two mountains is also different. Whereas Jungfrau now, they've just launched a new cable car, and after the cable car you get into the cogwheel train. So the cogwheel trains were something that are quite historic in that sense. Of course, they're putting in new carriages, but it's quite an experience to kind of jump from a cable car into a train and go up on top of a mountain. Whereas in Titlis, you'll go into two cable cars, and this next second one is a rotating cable car, so you kind of get the whole view of the mountain. Again, when you go on top in Titlis, probably you're going to go straight out into the snow. Whereas on Jungfrau, you have something called an ice palace, which is beautifully carved sculptures made out of ice in different shapes. They have an ice cave on Mount Titlis, but Jungfrau has more like you can see eagles and you can see penguins carved out of ice. Somewhere you can see a monument carved out of ice. So that is also quite special out there. In Jungfrau, you get the view of the Alesh Glacier. So when you're going out, you can actually see that whole glacier coming through. You have the Lindt Museum in both the places. So there are, I mean, Lindt Chocolate Shop is there even in Jungfrau and also on Titlis. So you have the chairlift in Mount Titlis. So you're, actually getting onto an open air chairlift and going there. And in my so many years that I've seen, Neil, no one's ever come back saying, oh, I wish I'd done only one mountain. You're always,
I
maybe
quite
third
agree. Yeah.
mountain people would say that, okay, this is getting let's do something else, not because it's boring, they still love the snow and the mountains, but you just feel, okay, I
Yeah.
can use this time to do something else, because you are time bound and budget bound. But it's a good combination. I feel they complement each other, and you get a very different idea and a different taste, and a different side of the mountains is seen. So even the mountains and the glaciers you see from both places are quite different. And I think everyone's always loved coming back from both the places, for sure.
All right. So my next question to you actually is about transport. And as
Mhm.
part of our tours, we have coaches right from, say, London in the UK to Rome or the other way
Yeah.
around, and all moving all across. Now, many people often ask that, hey, Europe has such a mature aviation industry. Why
Mhm.
don't you take flights everywhere? Why are we taking coaches and all of that? And I often say that, of course, just look around you. Everything is like an Instagrammable thing, even when you're on
Yes.
the highway, right? So
Yes.
there's trains, there's coaches or self drive, and then there's flying.
Mhm.
I often see that first, it should be self drive or going by coach. Second should be the train, and third would be flying. Would you agree with that, or would you have another opinion on it?
Neil, I'll go back to the itinerary planning again, because everything depends on the itinerary planning. If you want to see, say, for example, Spain, and with that you want to combine Greece, then the flight is the best option, because it's just too far apart to see something. But honestly, I would say that's not the best way to see Europe. The whole fun and travel of Europe is a road trip, because the roads are amazing. I mean, in Germany, come on, do you even look at there is almost no speed limit, right? You can keep driving on the autobahns or the highways, which are known as the autobahns. You have like you're driving at more than 100 kilometers an hour everywhere. So distances are not a problem in Europe. You can travel really easily. Also, along with the natural beauty, I mean, the roads are beautiful. You're going through completely, you're in the mountains or you're through cities. The roads are so stunning that you're really enjoying your road trip out there. But along with that, I think another important point is simply the stress and the time that comes when you fly, because you have to reach the airport way in advance, at least 2 hours in advance. Then you have the security checks, you have the, to go through all of that. And airports in Europe are not in the cities. It is not like Mumbai, where the airport is right in the heart of the city. Most of the European airports are on the outskirts. So if you factor in the time taken from the airport to come into the city, the time that you take to going there 2 hours earlier, if your baggage does not come for any reason. Recently I saw some photos where about Heathrow, I'm sure a lot of people saw, where due to manpower issues the luggage was there. So there are all these things, and it'll just take away half a day from your travel, and you're losing out on time. Whereas in Europe, when you're traveling by coach, it very often you'll reach from one city to the other, from the heart of the city to the other heart of the other city in like about 2 to 3 hours maximum. So, and plus you're seeing things on the way. And once you're traveling by road, it allows you to stop and see different things on the way, which you would have missed otherwise. So when you're flying, then you have to go fly there, stay, check in, and then do maybe an excursion and come back. But when you're traveling by road, you can very easily and nicely stop by on the way. Say there's a nice vineyard on the way, for example, like when you're in Paris, and on the outskirts of Paris is Champagne area. And you can easily add that when you're traveling from Paris towards Switzerland, that can be added on the way. So you don't have to waste time to go there and come back. You save time when you do a road trip. And of course, the trains also work really well. Europe is very well connected by trains, and traveling by trains is a lot of fun, but you have to carry your luggage. So again, you have to bear in mind that you have to carry your own luggage, put it into the train, take it out. Whereas if you have a car or if you're on a coach, the luggage is just taken care of automatically, and you can get off anywhere you want. You can take stops on the way, you can experience the journey. So it's really quite interesting, and it's not boring at all, it is not tiring at all, so you're fresh, you're enjoying the cities, and zero time wastage. So yeah, so yes, I would put it in that order: the coaches, and then the trains, and then your flights. But check your itinerary.
Okay. Of course, for the last 15, 20 minutes, we've been talking about Europe, and it's hard to pack everything in one go. That's why I'm
Yeah.
going to leave 2 or 3 questions for this episode, and then we'll, of course, do part two. One question I had, Sunila, is I often tell people that don't go to any place in Europe to click a photo and upload it on Instagram. Take it in, understand the story of the
Yes.
place, etc., etc. So let's come to the city of love, the city that houses the Eiffel Tower. And
Mhm.
the Eiffel Tower is often included in many trips. But what people don't often see when they are booking a trip is that they are not checking the inclusions. Is
Mhm.
a visit to the Eiffel Tower included, or is just the Eiffel Tower included, where someone shows you, hey, okay, that's the Eiffel Tower, and this is what we had mentioned in the trip? Because that is quite important, right? So, what is the difference between seeing the Eiffel Tower and then going to that third level of the Eiffel Tower and seeing all of Paris? Tell us from your perspective that, how does it feel when you're on the third level, and how is it like, when you're just on the ground?
So when you're on the ground, you're just waiting. It looks stunning. Wherever you are in Paris, you cannot miss the Eiffel Tower. And very often you can go to a certain few points, like you said, take a few photos for Instagram or for yourself, or just to take that view in of the Eiffel Tower. And I'll just add there that make sure you also see it by the evening or the night, because it's quite stunning in the day and in the night when it's all lit up, and it's really quite pretty. But when you go there, very often people land there and then they realize that the ticket they have is usually till the second level. I mean, first level, of course, you go in to change the lift to go up to the second level. And then when you're on the second level, you're wishing, oh, I wish I had the ticket to go up to the third level. You can sometimes also buy the tickets there to go up to the third level. But given the rush and the crowds that you will see there, if you don't are not already holding a ticket, it may take really long. I think to really experience it best, you have to be at the summit. And the summit of the Eiffel Tower is the highest observation deck in Paris. So if you want to really enjoy and experience and really appreciate how the city of Paris was built, the roads that go in, even when you're traveling, you can feel it. Like you can feel it everywhere. When you're on Champs-Elysees, you can see the beauty of the street. When you come to Arc de Triomphe, you have more than all those roads that come and meet there. But when you're really on the summit of the Eiffel Tower, that is when you can see how the city is laid out. And it's quite stunning. I've been there in the morning, I've been there in the evening, and I've been there late at evening when it was dark as well. I've been there really many times, but every time I go and every time I say, okay, this is the last time I'm coming up to the Eiffel Tower. I've had enough. I'm not coming again. And then again, when I land up in Paris, I feel, okay, one more time. Let me just go up once again and see it from the very top. So it is really beautiful because you appreciate the beauty and you think of how did Gustavo Eiffel even think of building something like this at this height. If we think of the time that it was built, when there was nothing around. And yes, we've done an episode on the Eiffel Tower, so there are more details there. If you're traveling individually, I would say try to at least have a champagne out there. There are different options for you. You can have a champagne, or you can even sit down for a meal on the Eiffel Tower. Those kind of different options are also available. So yes, you can add that on when you're out there.
Would you also say that, if you're self-driving around Europe, of course, it's
Mhm.
easy to self-drive, but parking in the city center is almost impossible, right? So people should be prepared for a lot of walking, don't you think?
Yes, you must be prepared for a lot of walking, whether you're on self-drive or whether you're on a coach or train or flight, anything. You just have to be ready to walk everywhere. And I think it's a good thing because over the last few years, we've seen a lot of changes happening in Europe. And to preserve the monuments, like say, for example, Pisa. Initially, the parking was very close and you could drop off very close to Pisa. But they did take into account that pollution was having a detrimental effect on Pisa. Or to preserve the monuments, most of the parking has been moved at a certain distance away from the monuments. So even if you're self-driving or not, even if you come by a taxi or you come by a chauffeur-driven car, they will not drop you right at the monument. It's always going to be that the parking is a little away and you have to walk a little. But I think that's the best part of Europe, and which I really enjoy. And your step count goes really, really high out there. So you can stay fit and, burn off all the amazing food that you've been having, because the roads are amazing. Whether it is the old cities with the cobblestone pathways, or whether it is the new and the modern part of the cities with amazing sidewalks and roads, because there is just so much happening in the sidewalks as well on the, pathways. So it's fun to walk in Europe, but yes, you have to walk.
Speaking of walking, also, I'd also like to say that when you're traveling around Europe and if you're paying cash, you often get a lot of coins, and people make the mistake of leaving the coins back in the hotel room.
Hmm.
Instead, my suggestion always is keep the coins with you, because toilets in Europe, especially clean toilets, cost €1 or €2. And wherever you go, if you have these coins come in handy for these toilets. And that is something that I would definitely recommend. So, I'd like to end this episode with something that we do while we're coming back. I've often
Hmm.
seen many people, they'll go into a store, they'll be at a monument, and they'll see something that they like. And
Hmm.
then often the misconception is that, hey, Europe is one, the Eurozone is one. I'll probably get this thing at the airport when I'm
Hmm.
flying out. So,
Hmm.
what would you have to say to everyone? Because all of us have made that mistake that, hey, I like this fridge magnet of the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Pisa, but maybe while flying out of Rome, I'll have some time to get it. So, what would you have to say to all of these people?
I think this rule applies for wherever you are, irrespective whether it is Europe or not. And very often we think in Europe that will happen. If you like something, just take it. And we keep thinking, I'm going to find something better at a cheaper price. It never happens. Never ever happens, because you may see something else, but then you say, okay, this is cheaper, but it's not really as nice as the model that I saw out there, or the souvenir that I saw back then. Or say if you're buying food, then you feel, oh, but this is a different flavor, and that one was much better. So just pick up whatever you like wherever you are. And sometimes there are roadside vendors. So just a note of caution, unless you really want to buy something, please don't go ahead and start bargaining with them, like not for fun, like what we probably do in India, because they can be offended. They'll say that, why did you waste my time if you're not interested in buying this? Very often these are immigrants who've come from different areas who are selling their things. So be a little aware of where and what you're buying. If you want to be really sure, go to proper shops which are, recommended, where probably if you want, you can change the thing that you brought, you can go back, but you're also assured of the quality when you're buying from a good shop or the official shops, because most of the monuments and the museums in Europe will always have a gift shop at the exit, like right from Disney to the museums to anything and everything always has an official shop. So if you want official branded merchandise, then it's best to buy it at the gift shop and do that. Also, since you brought up the topic of shopping, another note is that we do get VAT refund when you shop, but for that you must have your passport details at hand, and you must submit it when you're buying, because after you do the purchase, if they don't fill out the VAT form right then, you can't do anything about it. You cannot come back the next day and say, I bought this yesterday, now I want a VAT refund. Also ensure that whatever you've bought, you are carrying it on person, because at
Yes.
the airport you have the customs and you have to show it and then you get the VAT refund. It's become quite simple, but you must remember also, if you bought something in Italy but you're traveling out of Zurich, you may not get the refund, because
Hmm.
though it is Eurozone, they'll say you bought this in Italy. When you were traveling out of Italy, at the border is when you really have to show that the goods are going out of that country. So this is just something to keep in mind when you're shopping in Europe.
Perfect. So, 25 minutes of Europe
Yes.
is already over. Do you think any frequently asked questions we've missed out that just crop up to your mind?
Probably, when do I go? What is the
Hmm.
best time to visit Europe is one of the frequently asked questions. Again, Europe is a place for every season and every reason. So it depends on your reason for visiting. If you want to see the Christmas markets and enjoy a traditional Christmas in Germany, Austria, or the other Central European countries, then of course you will go anytime from, say, mid-November is when the Christmas markets open, but do check the opening times. That would be a time to go. If you want to experience the best of the springtime and see tulip gardens in all its beauty in Amsterdam, the Keukenhof tulip gardens, then that would be more like mid-March to May. That would be a perfect time to go there. If you want to go, and if you want to go when you have your holidays, so April, May, or June, then think the other way around and see what is open. Like the mountains in Switzerland are open all year round. But if you want to do skiing, of course, it is January, February, March. If you just want to go out there and have fun on the snow, you can go at any time that you're going. So if you want to be on the beaches of, say, Greece or Spain, and you want to really get into the water, then go in summer, June, July, August. But if you just want to see it as a beachside area, or you want to enjoy the French Riviera or the other places and not really be bothered about getting into the water, you could do it in winter, you could do it in autumn or any time. And autumn is a great time too, because all the leaves and the trees would show the different beautiful golden autumn colors. So it really depends on when you have the time and what is it that you wish to experience. Like the Tomatina festival in Spain is usually the third week of August. And if you want to do that, but if you're going for an event, then plan way in advance, because things can get very,
Yep.
very busy closer to the event. So
Yeah, like
yeah, I
I'm going.
think that would be
I'm
one of the
supposed to
most.
go for the running of the Bulls festival, and then getting
Oh
balconies
wow.
for that festival is quite expensive and also
Wow.
difficult. So I'm just camping and seeing. But in other words, you have said that Europe is a destination 365 days of the year. It just
Yes,
depends what you want and how you want to enjoy your holiday.
that's
Great.
right.
Thanks a lot, Sunila. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much,
Nima.
viewers and listeners. This was not only a beginner's guide to Europe, but a guide to Europe to answer most of your questions. We'll come back with part two in a few weeks. Until then, keep tuning in to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life with Veena World. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.